October 25, 1974. A man enters the Wyoming wilderness to hunt elk. Hours later, he stumbles back, shaking, pale, changed. He says he met a creature. He says it spoke into his mind. He says he was taken, not just away from the forest, but off the earth itself. And the strangest part? Some of what he described was never explained. Welcome to our weird world, where the strangest stories become reality. If you love these kinds of tales, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell. This way, you'll be notified whenever new content comes out, and you won't miss any of the world's deepest mysteries. Now let's dive in on today's new story. It was a quiet Friday afternoon when Carl Higdon, a 41-year-old oil rig worker and father of 5, decided to leave work early and go elk hunting in the Medicine Bow National Forest. He knew those woods. He'd hunted them before. Nothing unusual at first. Driving deep into the trees, Carl parked his pickup and began walking, rifle slung over his shoulder. Around 4 p.m., he spotted a group of 5 elk, perfectly still, so he raised his gun. He pulled the trigger. But instead of a bang, he heard a puff. The bullet floated through the air, and dropped as if gravity had shifted. Carl stared, stunned. The elk didn't move. And then he noticed something else, standing just beyond them. At first, he thought it was a man. But the more he looked, the less human it seemed. The being was tall, nearly 6 feet. Its body gleamed black, almost reflective like plastic or rubber. Where a mouth should have been, there were 3 short prongs. Its arms were long and stiff. One hand seemed normal, the other ended in a mechanical device. On its chest was a golden emblem, perhaps a harness or a badge. Its head was bulbous, with strange, wiry hair sticking straight up like thin antennae. It stared at Carl. And then, it spoke, but not out loud. The voice was inside Carl's head. "Are you hungry?" asked the creature. Carl was stunned, but he nodded. A small transparent cube appeared in his hand, containing a single pill. The being said it would satisfy his hunger, and when Carl swallowed it, the sensation of fullness was immediate. Then, the being gave its name. "I am Ausso One." It added, without hesitation, "We need to take you with us." Carl couldn't move, his body felt like it had lost weight, as though gravity had vanished. Without walking, he was suddenly inside a structure, transparent walls, smooth floors. A ship. Floating. He turned. In separate compartments beside him were the 5 elk, completely immobilized. Floating. Trapped like specimens in invisible cages. Ausso One was there, along with 2 identical beings. No one moved their mouths. The voices continued, telepathic, clear, calm. They told Carl they were running tests. Checking if he could reproduce. Apparently, they'd scanned many humans, and not all passed. Carl did. They launched into space. It didn't feel like moving, but suddenly they were there, a world with tall, glass-like towers and a dark black sun that cast no warmth. Carl asked where they were. Ausso One replied, "This is not your planet." And then, Carl remembered nothing more. Carl reappeared 7 hours later, wandering a trail miles from his last known location. He was dazed, trembling, unable to form full sentences. Rescuers thought he was suffering from exposure, until they heard his story. When investigators returned to the scene, they found something strange. The bullet Carl claimed to have fired was lying on the ground, completely undamaged. No impact, no deformation. His rifle's internal mechanism was broken, though it had suffered no external damage. His watch had stopped at the exact time of the encounter. Carl's truck, parked miles away, was stuck in soft ground, but there had been no rain. It was as if the terrain had altered. Even stranger, his memory of the event was fragmented but consistent. And his fear was genuine. Carl underwent psychological evaluation and passed a polygraph test. He was considered mentally sound and showed no signs of delusion or psychosis. Under hypnosis, he described in vivid detail the ship's interior, the sensation of weightlessness, and the communication with Ausso One. But not everyone was convinced. Skeptics proposed various theories. A partial seizure or temporal lobe episode could explain hallucinations. Or, a carbon monoxide poisoning was floated, but there was no source. Some suspected he had fallen, become concussed, and imagined the rest. Others believed sleep deprivation and stress could have triggered a vivid waking dream. Yet none of those theories explained the bullet, the broken gun, or the elk Carl claimed to see. 5, the same number counted by searchers days later. Public reaction was divided. Local newspapers picked up the story. Some called him a liar, others a lunatic. But a small group of ufologists believed Carl. His case was documented in UFO archives, mentioned in conferences, and discussed alongside more famous abductions, though many still consider it a fringe anomaly. Carl never made money from his story. Never changed it. And never asked to be believed. Years passed. Carl Higdon kept to himself. His account, though often mocked, never changed. He described Ausso One the same way, used the same words, repeated the same chilling silence. He was a man with nothing to gain, and everything to lose. And that's what makes his story so disturbing. There was no clear agenda. No sensationalism. Just a quiet man with an impossible experience, one that, no analysis, no investigator, no skeptic has ever fully dismantled. Even psychologists admitted. Nothing in Carl's history suggested he would fabricate such a wild story. A man goes hunting, and never returns the same. A bullet that floats. A being with no mouth. A planet with a black sun, and silent cities. If it was a hoax, it was flawless. If it was delusion, it was too coherent. And if it was real, then something out there is watching us. And sometimes, it takes us. Was Carl Higdon abducted by something that is not from this earth? Or was his mind reaching for something stranger in the silence of the woods? Let us know what you believe in the comments. And if you want more stories that blur the line between fact and the unexplainable, hit that subscribe button and leave a like. This is our weird world, where the next story could be even stranger.